Okay, let's get started. Feeling good today. Not much left to do. Let's do it. My part of the editing is more or less done for now. Andrew and Brian are working on the final song, then we still got to do narration. Andrew writes that, so we got to wait until tomorrow. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much good to go. Okay, so now it's time to do that Q&A. Okay, I got to print this out first though, because I think that was the most questions I've ever gotten for a Q&A. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I will do my best. Obi115 asks, are you going to read any of the Star Wars novels or just the Aftermath trilogy? If you don't know what he's talking about, I rented this from the library. I'm only this far in it, and I probably will read some other ones. I don't know, it depends on how much I like this one. Laney Mon asks, do you still play games on your PS Vita? Yes, I do. The most recent PlayStation Vita game that I played was Steins Gate Zero, and the most recent game that I've been playing on it is Chrono Cross. Jay McGee asks, if you ever decide to plan a trip in Australia, do you think you would also consider Tasmania? Yes, I would. Jorgen asks, did you ever play the original Ni no Kuni, and are you excited for the next game? I did indeed. I did not finish it. I really liked it, but just one thing led to another and I never finished it. I am excited for the next game, but maybe less excited as I would be if I hadn't played this game, because I wasn't too huge of a fan of the gameplay in this. But I do love me some Studio Ghibli and some Joe Hisaishi. Oh, and on that same note, Christian Taylor says, what's your favorite game of all time? The Legend of Zelda, The Ocarina of Time. We pre-ordered it at Best Buy and my mom went to pick it up for us. And for some reason they were trying to give us crap about getting the gold cartridge and trying to tell her that they were out. And fortunately, my mom did the very good motherly thing and fought for us and made sure we got the gold one, which that's a nice little memory. Still, my favorite game of all time. There's been other games that have come and taken the crown for a little while, but never for too long. Halo was probably the one that took the crown for the longest, but if I went to a desert island and I could only take one game, it would definitely be Ocarina of Time. Okay, Restless Outdoors asks, has it ever crossed your mind to get a full-time job where you have to punch a clock, work 40 hours a week, you know, making someone else rich? I worked a 9 to 5 when I first got out of college. I was doing subtitles for Japanese anime and movies, and I hated it. And it's not even so much the work, it's that you have to sit in the office for 8 hours every day, whether you have work to do or not, whether you feel like working or not, or whether you can get the work done faster. If it was just, here, we need this work done, we need it done by this day, you pick when you want to do it, I'd be all for that. I mean, that's how I work now. But having to just sit there 8 hours a day like a slave is just, I hate it, and I hate that that's the system that we have built up. A lot of people need that structure, but for me, it's like super limiting, and it just, I don't like working that way. And on that note, Alex Tessman asked, how did you arrive at your current state of employment? So, quick history of my employment. As soon as I got out of college, I got the full-time job doing subtitles. Came back home, my mom and I, we opened a Zuma studio. I did that for like 5 years. As I was transitioning out of that, I started to get into video work. How I got into video work was I knew somebody who was a designer, who was a friend of a friend, and he needed a video guy. So he already had really big clients, so that was like the start of my work. And then just other stuff like weddings and bar mitzvah stuff. You do one, somebody else is gonna ask you. They see your work, and then it's just word of mouth like that. But also, one maybe misconception is that doesn't mean that I have a lot of money. In fact, that means I have very little money. And if I pushed getting more clients and doing more work, I could definitely have more money, but I would much rather spend more time doing vlogs and Adventure Archives videos, so that's what I try to spend most of my time doing. But to answer your question, getting into video was kind of just luck, because in 2010, I bought the Canon T3i. That was when we first opened the studio. And then I didn't start getting into video work until like 5 years later, after actually practicing with the camera and using it. And I've always had an interest in video, like ever since high school when I started making videos. It was just kind of lucky because I knew someone who knew someone, and I had an interest in video, and I was already getting practice and stuff like that. And when I first started, I knew almost nothing, but I had the camera and I had the interest, so I was able to get started that way. I'm not sure that's a very good detailed answer. Maybe I'll go more in depth on that in a vlog, but basically, I knew somebody who got me the big start, and then ever since then it's been word of mouth. And I've been able to do it because my expenses weren't that high. So like my rent wasn't that much, and I don't have kids to support. So I had the luxury of pursuing a different career after the studio. Ruth Tuesday asks, a multi-parter, have you ever gone camping, not backpacking, with a ton of your family? Have you ever gone on an adventure with your mother? Would she enjoy a backpacking trip? So answer question 1, yes, we went car camping with all of the cousins and all the aunts and uncles on my dad's side. It ruined me on camping for years because I always thought that it meant that you parked in a parking lot and then you slept next to your car. It was terrible. It wasn't until years later that I found out you could actually like camp in the forest. 2, have you ever gone on an adventure with your mother? Not as far as like backpacking, but we have gone traveling together before and that's been really fun. Would she enjoy a backpacking trip? Yes, she would. She said that she's wanted to go on a trip before and we'll probably eventually do it. KJ asks, I've noticed you guys don't have a microwave. Any reason why not? We don't have a microwave because it tastes better when you don't use a microwave.
Yes.
And it's not any slower. And maybe it's a little bit slower, but it's not that much slower.
Yeah.
Roger Sim asks, is your tent a 3-season or 4-season tent? That I don't know, but it's the Nemo Hornet 2, I believe. Also, if you could choose to live anywhere in the world other than where you are now, what country, town, city would you choose and why? Practically, I would choose Japan, but if it could be anywhere in the world, I don't know, but I've always been attracted to Norway, and from everything I've heard about Norway, it sounds awesome. But I don't know. And on that same note, Gabriella Rosca asks, do you regret not living in a more climate-friendly area like California? No, but I've also lived here all my life, so I'm very used to it. I love the harsh contrast between a really hot summer and a really cold winter, and I like it when there's an actual spring and a fall. That doesn't always happen, but when it does happen, it's awesome. All right, Jim at Trails We Hike asks, what is the biggest time-saving shortcut in your editing arsenal? There's 2 of them. One is zoom in and zoom out. You should really set it to something easy. I said zoom in to E, I said zoom out to W. The other one is called ripple trim. Let's go to our keyboard shortcuts here. Ripple trim next edit to playhead and ripple trim previous edit to playhead. If you're not using these, you need to be using these. These are the biggest time savers by far. If I didn't have these, I probably wouldn't be a video editor. This is my timeline marker. This is the next edit. This is the previous edit. Shift space, we'll do this. We'll Control Z that. And Shift S, we'll do this. I use Shift S and Shift space almost constantly, and I zoom in and out almost constantly. Those are the 2. I couldn't recommend them any more highly. Tessa Kroic and Abhilash Upadhyay both ask, have you ever considered going vegetarian and what are your reasons for opting not to do so? So let me preface this by saying, if I ever do go vegetarian, it will not be because somebody convinced me. So I really appreciate if you do want to convince me for my health, but it would be one of those things that I'd have to come to it on my own decision. But as far as health goes, I'm not entirely convinced that for me, that I could get a complete diet just from vegetables and vegetarian alone. But that's a very controversial topic and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. I will say that I try to get the best quality meat that I can get so that at least I'm not contributing like factory farms, and because it's probably better to be vegetarian over eating really low quality meat all the time. But there you go. Tim V says that his wife Constance is going to New York for 3 days for school training in 25 words or less. Could you give her a bit of advice for a first time New York tourist? All I would say is don't be afraid to look like a tourist. People are gonna like say, ugh, tourist, no matter where you go and no matter what you do. So just go see the things that you wanna see, do the things that you wanna do, and don't worry about whether somebody thinks that you're a tourist or not. Be a tourist. Like, I mean, that's the whole point. But as far as practical advice, I would not spend too much time in Times Square. It's just super crowded and it's not that great. Go see Central Park, go see the Statue of Liberty. The boat ride's really fun. Statue of Liberty itself is kind of boring, but the boat ride's great because you can see the city. Don't wait in line at the Empire State Building. I don't think it's worth it. Try out the dollar pizza just because of how cheap it is, not because it actually tastes good. I've probably hit 25 words by now, so there you go. Serena Davis says, when are you traveling to China? Probably sometime in the spring. Will there be any more podcasts with your mom?
Yes, of course.
Haven't seen your mom on your vlogs as much lately. Is it happenstance?
Yes.
I think it's just, purely coincidence. That was it.
Hi.
Crazy Kev says, you're always running, staying in shape. Do you ever run races or competition? No, but I have. I did a 4 mile and a 5K. I think that's it. My 5K time was 22 minutes, but that was like over 10 years ago. Although I probably could still do that. Okay, so this is actually a topic I really like talking about, so I'm glad you asked this. Casual Tim says, I'm dying for a segment discussing whether or not you're conscious of your continuous upgrade and rearranging of your work/life spaces, what kind of goals or lacks drive you to act and make changes, etc. Is this a conscious philosophy or just a natural instinctual behavior? of the wild Robby. There's two components to this. One of them is I'm always trying to improve everything I have. That being said, I do have the gear acquisition syndrome. That doesn't mean that I act on it, but I'm always looking at new gear and I'm like, oh yeah, this could be good, blah, blah, blah. But the guiding principle I have, especially when it comes to actual like functional gear, is efficiency and usefulness over entertainment. There's all sorts of stuff that I could get for my filmmaking, for computers, for this and for that, but I always weigh the decision of, is this gonna increase the amount of stuff that I have in my space and the amount of stuff that I have to keep track of and take care of to the point where it diminishes its usefulness. An example would be these mics right here. I bought this for a specific job where we had two people talking and walking, so we needed a dual mic transmitter and receiver thing. The point is that it wasn't very good, and we could use this for Adventure Archives, right? But this adds so much extra weight with these three things, when we could just use one microphone and then use this more strategically. You might get slightly better sound quality over miking each person separately, and you might have more control, but to the viewer, it makes no difference to them because it sounds basically the same. And to us, it just adds more weight and cumbersome and more links in the chain for things to go wrong. That's why I went back to just one microphone, and I'm currently trying to sell this. So far, unsuccessfully. But I think what spurred the question was when I bought this desk. And I mean, I've done so many different things to my workstation all the time. The main thing that drives me is when something has been a thorn in my side for too long. That's when I make the change. So this desk right here, the reason I bought it finally was because I was like, God, I'm so sick of sitting at this computer for hours on end, working on something. I want to be able to stand and move around. So I was like, forget it, man. This is worth the money. And it's worth the hassle of getting it. It also looks a lot nicer too, but it was just worth it to make my life better and easier and to get that thorn finally out of my side. As a counterexample to that, this computer case I have had for a very long time. It's got like a hole in it here, a hole in it there. It's ugly, it's too big. I could change it, but right now it's not really a thorn in my side. It just looks kind of ugly. So I don't feel like this burning desire to change it, even though I'd like to change it. The cost and time associated with that is not worth it yet for me to do it. If it ever becomes like a hindrance to the things I'm doing, that's when I'll want to make the change. I think that's the main thing, is this going to help me make something better? Is this going to make my life better? Or is this just entertainment? And if it's just entertainment, then usually I'll try not to do it. Like, big example, Apple Watch. I would love to get an Apple Watch, but that is a toy, it's entertainment. I've had one before, it made my hand hurt even, so I probably shouldn't even get one, but like a standing desk that's functional, it's gonna make my life demonstrably better, that's when I make the change. So Super Nintendo asks, what is your favorite coffee brand and preparation process for you when you go camping? I actually don't have a favorite brand, and I just use these little Japanese pour-over packets. You've probably seen them in the episodes many times. What is your favorite gaming memory that has stuck with you throughout your life? Well, actually one of my favorites is Ocarina of Time. When that first came out, I spent like 2 weeks straight playing it, and it was during like Thanksgiving break. Remember, I would sleep on the couch, get up, play it all day, and then sleep on the couch again. That is my favorite game, for sure. But I think that's all the questions answered. Thank you for asking them. If you have follow-up ones, just ask them and I'll answer it in a comment. Okay, that's gonna do it for today's vlog. The coffee thing, I'm probably gonna save for tomorrow because I did the Q&A today. Anyways, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.